Morning. Who did the whoop? Thanks, Nigel. What a great morning already. And it's such a privilege to be here. And the series that we've been looking at, No Longer Slaves, Set Free, Living Free, and Bringing Freedom. So this morning, we're going to look at Free to Bring Justice. Now, I don't know what justice means to you. I've got some pretty personal stuff that I'll share later on, but I looked it up in the dictionary, and it's words like fair, reasonable, impartial, right, rightfulness. And just a couple of stories to start with. So in a small town courtroom, a man was up in front of a judge and said, "Your Honour, my car could not have possibly..." A man said, "I couldn't possibly have been speeding because my car physically cannot go that fast." The judge paused, rolled his eyes, looked at his notes and calmly replied, "Sir, according to your own Instagram, you posted a video last week titled, 'Testing my car at 120 miles an hour.' Case closed. Moral of the story, the internet remembers." And then in Florida in 2011, a man robbed a store and he left his phone behind. Not only that, the phone had selfies of him wearing the same clothes in the store, holding the cash. And the detective said later it was one of the easiest cases they've ever solved. So we're looking at free to bring justice, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I can have the Andy Payne justice. It's not fair. Why has this happened? How has this happened? You've just done this to me. You've said this. You've written this. And I just want to bring about justice, my justice, because it's only fair. And I can justify it. I can quote Bible verses. I can say things like, an eye for an eye, or a tooth for a tooth. But that's not what we're looking at here. One of the key verses that we've looked at is Galatians 5, verse 11, that says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free." It's what he's done, and it's nothing to do with us. Now, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the lovely Dan Thwaites pinged he's looking at me, what have I done now? Pinged a Facebook message round, which was a clip of, I can only call it, a Scottish preacher called Alistair Begg. And he had this amazing clip called Man on the Middle Cross. And Ben has been amazing on IT. He's managed to get it to work. So, only last couple of minutes.
If you were to die tonight and you were getting entry into heaven, what would you say? If you answer that, and if I answer it in the first person, we've immediately gone wrong. Because I believed, because I have faith, because I am this, because I am continuing. Loved ones, the only proper answer is in the third person, because he. Think about the thief on the cross. And what an immense, I can't wait to find that fellow one day to ask him, how did that shake out for you? Because you were cussing the guy out with your friend. You'd never been in a Bible study. You never got baptized. You didn't know a thing about church membership. And yet you made it. You made it. How did you make it? That's what the angel must have said, like, what are you doing here? Well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Well, because I don't know. Well, excuse me, let me get my supervisor. They go get the supervisor ranger. So, just a few questions for you. First of all, Are you clear on the doctrine of justification by faith? The guy said, I never heard of it in my life. And what about, let's just go to the doctrine of Scripture immediately. This guy's just staring. And eventually, in frustration, he says, on what basis are you here? And he said, the man on the middle cross said, I can come. Now, that is the only answer.
That is just so powerful. How many of you have seen that before? Yeah, a few. It's just, and it takes away anything to do with us. It's all about him. And on this series, we've looked at fear, we've looked at doubt, we've looked at anxiety, we've looked at trapped in the same habits and pattern. But it's all about him. And we just need to accept it. And we just need to have that drop from our head into our hearts. So I'm going to read some familiar verses. I'm going to start with Matthew 25, 35 to 40. And follow along, or it will be up on the screen. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will ask him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and feed you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? Then the king will reply, I tell you the truth. Whatever you did for the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. And when we go into assemblies in primary schools with Food Bank, that's normally our second or third slide. We hit them with it. And we let them know, even though they've probably heard nothing about Jesus, what they're doing is that they're doing what Jesus told them to do. And I think that's really, really powerful. And we thank them and we say, you are going out your way to help people who you'll probably never meet, who are complete strangers, but that's what you're doing. And we really do thank them for this. But how much, as followers of Jesus, should we be doing this? And then probably some more familiar verses. Isaiah 58, 6 to 7. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke. Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe him, and not to turn him away from your own flesh and blood. Again, some really powerful, some really strong words in there. Loose the chains of injustice, set the oppressed free, break every yoke, not turn away from your flesh and blood. And I thought about that. You could interpret that everyone in the world is from your own flesh and blood, as we're all from Adam and Eve. Some more words. Psalm 146, 7 to 9. He upholds the cause of the oppressed and gives food to the hungry. The Lord sets the prisoner free. The Lord gives sight to the blind. The Lord lifts up those who are bowed down. The Lord loves the righteous. The Lord watches over the alien and sustains the fatherless and the widow, but he frustrates the ways of the wicked. Again, some really strong words. He watches over the alien. I don't think he was talking about E.T., but who's an alien? It could be someone not native of this country. It could be someone from a different culture. Could be someone from a different religion. Or really simply, someone that's different to you and me. And he upholds the cause of the oppressed. And that's big stuff. And you could think that's just for those who have got it all together. If anyone comes up to you and says they've got it all together, don't believe them because they haven't. Or you could think it's just for people like Pete or Tom. No, it's for us all. The whole No Longer Slave series has been amazing. And 2 weeks ago, Pete shared on breaking the chains of the here and now. And he talked about Romans 8:22. We know the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time. It's about something new coming. And especially after things that we've been seeing in the last week, even in the last 24 hours in the world. With what is the truth? Wars going on, fake news. That means that what we currently have, as Pete shared, is not right. There are injustices, there's a lack of justice. But there's something else. We have hope. We have a future. We have eternity. And Pete read Revelation 21, verse 4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, no more mourning, no more crying, no more pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And in verse 6 it says, write these down, for these words are trustworthy and true. Pete mentioned 2 weeks ago that we should be so sold out for Jesus, so focused on heaven, that we can't stand what is going on here. We should be hating the injustices, to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. We want as many people in heaven, and so does Jesus, as many saved as possible. So I'd urge me to keep that vision of heaven, of no pain, no tears, no death, no mourning, where the curse of sin is gone. And Pete mentioned that heaven means we are free to hope. We need a big picture of heaven. And if that's not your hope, then your hope is unstable. Now, I remember a while back, I mentioned Keith Green from the front, and there was a tumbleweed moment. Not many, so I'm going to try again. So some of you know I love my old Christian bands and singers from a few years ago. So on a CAP life skills course about 5 weeks ago, I played a track from a group called After the Fire. Anyone heard of After the Fire? There is revival. They then went trendy and they called themselves ATF. But the song that I played was like 42 years old, and I thought, oh my word. So I'm going to go, and they did have a top 10 single in America in the 80s. So this one might be slightly better. What about Martin Joseph? Hands up? Oh, a few hands. Brilliant. So Martin Joseph, he is a Welsh Christian singer, songwriter, sounded a bit like Bob Dylan, very much in the protest mode. And in 1998, he wrote a song called He Never Said. So I'm going to read out first verse and the chorus. He never said, God helps those who help themselves. He never said, blessed are the rich. He never said, do unto others before they do it unto you, like they're going to do. He never said, it's too bad, buddy, but the winner has to take it all. And he never said, success is the key. You got to be cruel to be kind. And he never said, it's a jungle out there where the weak must get left behind. But he did say, and this is the chorus, answer a stranger's cry for help. Love your brother as you love yourself. You only need to seek and you will find. Forgive your enemy and drop that grudge. Don't judge others and you won't be judged. Only knock and the door will open wide. Open wide. And some of you will have realized that that chorus is from the Sermon on the Mount. And I'm just going to read, and then you're going to do some work. Just 2 lines in verse 2. He never said archbishops should stick to theology. Leave all those big issues alone, chaps. So what do you think? Should archbishops, should the church, should Pete, should Tom, should me should we care about injustices? What about wrongs that are being done? Should we get involved? And especially after stuff last night. So I would like you to spend a minute chatting to your neighbours, and then you've got three options, okay? And we're going to do it by hands. One, you put your hand up and you think church should stick to theology. Number two, you think we should get involved. Number three, you're going to wait until Tom's hand goes up. And I really hope that Tom's hand doesn't go up with that one, because that will be slightly confused. So have a chat with your neighbours. Should the church get involved? Injustices, wrongs. Is it going all right, sir? Yeah? Am I looking right? Am I looking right? Yeah. Is it making sense? Good. And I haven't started crying yet. I haven't started crying. I was on that Martin Joseph.
Should the church get involved? Yes. What's your view?
I don't know. I asked Pete and Tom. Yeah. I'll be reading it out. It's up to you. Have I done a minute? Is that enough? Okay, your time's up. So, hands up if you think the church should just stick to theology and not get involved. Okay? Hands up if you think the church should get involved. Hands up who's going to wait and see what Tom says. Okay, and I did speak to Pete and Tom because, and it did mirror my thoughts, which was quite fun. Okay, and we should be getting involved. We have Jesus. It's also called the good news, and we can't keep it to ourselves. But that might make us unpopular. It might upset some people. Yep, and Jesus said that this would happen. But it can be really difficult, really confusing. And what I would say that is where we are speaking up, is it coming from a place of mercy and grace that we have received? Yeah, back to the man on the middle cross. Is it to focus and point people to Jesus? If so, then absolutely brilliant. If you're not sure, shouldn't I find that lovely Christian friend, have a pray, or have a chat to Pete and Tom? But again, is this focusing and pointing people to Jesus? I'm sure that some of you will be aware about the lovely structure that we have in the centre of town, also called the statue, which we are continually praying for every Thursday morning at 6:30 and other times as well. And you probably remember with Pastor Pete, he was the voice of the local churches, and that was put forward to the local council, which somehow resulted in Pete being mentioned in local and national media. He was being misquoted, he was being laughed at by some, and it was taken out of context. But what Pete was doing was focusing on Jesus and pointing people to him. So let's look at three things that I think God asks us to do. And again, some pretty famous words. Micah 6, verse 8. He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And we're going to look at those one at a time, and I'm going to start with love mercy. Now, mercy will cost you time and comfort. It will cost you money and status. And it will potentially give you heartaches. Facing insults without retaliating. Forgiving for the umpteenth time. Reaching out to the lonely, the neglected, or the addicted without expecting anything in return is not exactly stuff that we enjoy or we want more of. I should love mercy because I stand right before God because of his mercy. And when that truth takes hold of my heart, that I stand right with God because of his mercy, I understand that loving mercy and living mercifully reveals God to those all around me. As a follower of Jesus, the command to love mercy reveals my heart. I know that sometimes, too often, I love justice, but I'm rather miserly with mercy. I can see something that I think is not right, it's not fair, but what do I do about it? I'll repeat that phrase again. I sometimes love mercy, love justice, and I'm rather miserly with mercy. My wrong idea of justice lets me demand justice from others rather than to seek to live it out myself. And just going to spend a tiny bit talking about the Debt Advice Centre that we started here just under 2 years ago. And we've had 29 clients. There's been just over £140,000 of debt written off. We've had 9 people completely debt-free, and there's been financial gains, i.e. money that people were entitled to but they weren't claiming, has just over 60,000. Is it easy? Not always. Is it frustrating? Frequently. Do people turn up? Not always. Do some start and then not continue with the process? Absolutely. But we're going to keep going. And it's great that we've got all these facts and figures, but we want people to know the ultimate freedom, and that's knowing Jesus. And within the food bank, that's providing people with food, having a dignified response, conversations with people, treating people with respect, sitting down, making them a hot drink, giving them biscuits and the odd pot noodle. Had a guy in last week that was living in his car, which had now broken down and hadn't eaten for 3 days. So we gave him a pot noodle and we just chatted to him. And looking around the room, there are so many current and past food bank volunteers who have been amazing and shown so much love and mercy. And just giving people time to talk. And also praying with and for people. But again, we just want people to know that ultimate freedom, and that's knowing Jesus. We've also had the CAP Life Skills, and our current course is amazing. We're having brilliant conversations with people, but we want them to know the ultimate freedom, and that is knowing Jesus. Now, sometimes, and I know that a lot of you here know this, my words aren't often encouraging. Words are so powerful, and they have the opportunity to make or break people. And I came across 2 stories, but with a very, very different ending. So the first story, there was an altar boy. He was brand new, serving a priest at Mass in a small village. The boy, nervous in his role, accidentally dropped the wine goblet. The priest struck him sharply on the cheek. Then, in a gruff voice that the congregation could hear, said, "Leave the altar and don't come back." That boy grew up to be Marshal Tito, who was the communist dictator who ruled Yugoslavia with cruelty for many years and harmed and hurt thousands of people. Second story, again, pretty similar. One day in a large city cathedral, another boy, he was serving a bishop at the Sunday Mass. He accidentally dropped the wine goblet, exactly the same. The bishop turned to him, but rather than responding in anger, he gently whispered with a warm twinkle in his eyes, "Someday you'll be a great priest." And that guy grew up to be an archbishop in America who had weekly televised sermons. Exactly the same thing, or the accident, but the outcome was completely different. So your words have the power to bring life or to tear down. So what about you? What could you do to love mercy? Could you help someone with food? Potentially with the food bank, giving support on a regular basis, bringing an item in regularly, and in the new sheet, it's going to be on the back every week now, our most urgent things. Could it be to give people lifts? Could it be to be that listening ear? Ask God. But what I would say, please don't switch your brain off. Because Jesus showed love, compassion, and mercy, but one of my favourite phrases is, he wasn't Meals on Wheels. So if someone is continually asking you to do things and quoting back at you, Jesus said you need to do this, possibly speak to that trusted Christian friend, speak to Pete, speak to Tom, and pray it through. If someone is a continual returner into the food bank and they're not engaging with us, they're not wanting any help or support, and they're not trying to change their situation, we will in due course say no more. Exactly the same. So love mercy is going out of your way to help others and not expecting anything in return. And I've got down here a Verity story, my lovely wife. And I've lots of lovely stories, not how bad she is, it's all about me. So Verity retires end of May. So what will happen next, I won't have to do anymore. So she works on a Saturday morning once or twice a month. And she'll go to work at 8 o'clock, and I'll think, what can I do? What chores can I do, being me, really bad, even just thinking that will really help her. So I might do some ironing. I might mop the floor. I might do some stuff. And I'm there sat there really proud of what I've done. But what happens when Verity walks through the door within within usually about 5 minutes, and she hasn't noticed it and thanks me? What do you think I might do? Tell her? Yeah. I'm getting slightly better, but loving mercy is going out of your way to help others and not expecting anything in return. Just a quick story that happened at a food bank collection. Just before Christmas, a guy came up to us in Asda or Tesco with a big trolley completely full of chocolate biscuits. And my first impression wasn't, "Oh, thank you, sir." It wasn't on our list. I didn't say that. I didn't verbalise that. And then he spoke to the volunteers and said, a while back, he was in need. And he got a food bank voucher. And he came into us, but he was so embarrassed. For whatever reason, he didn't want to chat to people. He had a quick drink, took his food parcel, and then left. And then he said he got home, he unpacked all his food, and the thing that stood out to him was a pack of chocolate biscuits. That someone had cared enough to give him a treat. And he said he will never forget that, hence giving us a trolley load of biscuits. So please never underestimate what a pack of biscuits or words can do. Then the second one is act justly. And within Food Bank, we're involved in working with the Trussell Trust and other national organisations to campaign for a better, fairer system where everyone has enough to eat, has appropriate shelter, and where those that need support from the state are getting enough. It's working with other churches and organisations, making them aware of what is going on locally, i.e. last year we gave out 1.7 tonne more food than came in. And it's encouraging churches and individuals to pray for the food bank and for there to be an end. What about you? Could you look at things that are close to your heart and what God wants you to be concerned about because He is? Could you write to your local MP saying that you're aware of this situation and what are you doing about it? Is it regularly praying for a situation like the statue? If so, come along on a Thursday morning. We are praying heavily that that statue is going to go. But it's also, how are you with being impartial in your personal, in your business life? In the book of James, we're instructed not to show favoritism to beautiful, important, or rich people. Do I show more courtesy to a well-dressed person than I do to a homeless person? It's about being accurate in our presentation of ourselves. It's not exaggerating to make ourselves look better than my actions prove I really am. But it's so tempting to blow your own trumpet. Act justly also covers being lawful. God establishes governing authorities. He commands me to obey both the law of the land, and that includes the roads. And I'm working at that bit. The final area under this is integrity. The Bible provides our moral standard. It defines right and wrong. The words and actions of a person of integrity align with God's truth. They do what is right when no one is watching, even if it takes more time or costs more. And acting justly requires more than action, not mere talk. Speaking about injustices, whatever these things are, may make me appear caring, but words do nothing to ease the pain of those suffering. Biblical justice is never divorced from acts of love and mercy. So, what about you? What is God asking you, calling you to do, or to continue to do? And the third area, it sounds really simple. Walk humbly with your God. Though the world tries to tell me otherwise, I didn't make myself. God created all things, including me. When I acknowledge that everything I am and have comes from God, I understand His authority to lead me and my need to surrender to Him. God created all people in His image. Intelligence, beauty, and physical ability all come from Him. So no one person is worth more than another person. I walk humbly with God by valuing each life and respecting all people. And I'll be brutally honest, and some of you in Food Bank have known me as Mr. Grumpy. When someone comes into Food Bank, I can struggle with this because I see people as I see people, not how God sees them. Since preparing this section on walking humbly with God, He's made me think through and pray a lot more, just again to see how much mercy I have received, back to the man on the middle cross. Humility holds the key to both acting justly and loving mercy. As I recognize how much God has shown mercy to me, humility empowers me to act justly towards others, even when they don't treat me the same way. Apart from God's grace, I have nothing. Apart from God's forgiveness and mercy, I deserve eternal condemnation. I love offering mercy because I know how much I need it. In humility, I remember that I am on level ground with everyone else. The power to walk humbly with God, to love mercy, and to act justly comes from the Holy Spirit. God invites me and you by his power to join his work. What an awesome privilege God gives us when he calls us to demonstrate to a confused world what acting justly and loving mercy really looks like. So if the band would like to come up, I'm just going to finish with a couple more things. And you might still be thinking, so what can I do? And the first thing is, be willing to start small. Just do something. Speak to God. And the second one is be willing to dream big, because we serve a big God. If we look at all the stories of those who have changed history by their actions, those heroes of faith, George Muller, Thomas John, Bernardo, and I came across Florence Nightingale. Random just came in. And this quote that she said, I'm going to read this twice. God called me this morning and asked me, would I do good for him alone without reputation? So God called me this morning and asked me, would I do good for him alone without reputation?